Okay, we will start the post-race press conference for today's 21st annual Pennzoil 400. And we'll begin with Las Vegas native Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 M&M's Caramel Toyota. Kyle, it's your sixth Las Vegas top five. Another great run. You're in here a lot and with good reason. Can you talk about the race you had out there, please?
Yeah, we had a good race. You know, we're off a little bit there in the beginning of the race with the cycle tires from qualifying. We just didn't have it early on, just super, super loose. But Adam and the guys made some great adjustments to flip that and be on the tight side for the majority of the rest of the day. But at least it was drivable, and we could start making passes and making some gains on people, especially on long runs when they would get loose. Our car would kind of come to life and be super fast, probably lap 20 on into a run, you know. So, yeah, just had a decent day, I guess. Certainly would have liked to have been able to run down the four or catch the four and put on a race, but they were just so far out there and so far class of the field all day long. I don't think anybody was really keeping up with them. So proud of our effort and what we were able to do here today, and we'll go to Phoenix.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle? Start over here with Mike and then check in the press box.
Mike Hember, USA Today. Kyle, when the driver has a car like Kevin had today, can you do anything during the race, adjustments, throw wild stuff at it to try to catch up when they obviously are so far ahead, or do you just stay on course?
No, our balance was really, really good there the last 100 laps of the race. I don't think we could have made much ground by changing anything much. You know, it was just pure speed, whether it's under the hood or whether it's aerodynamics or whatever it is. You know, they've obviously got it going on right now, and we just missed it a little bit. You know, we kind of fought track position all day. Every restart, I didn't have a very good restart. I would lose track position on restart, so that wasn't helpful. But, you know, our car was obviously always better in the long run anyways. So if you can't fire off on the short run, you do lose those positions, but then you make them back. It's just all about trying to make that back plus some, and we never got that plus some.
Bob Parker, ESPN. Harvick has said that maybe the Hawkeye system and also the change in the splitter rules has kind of brought everybody, or has helped them. Have you noticed any change in the way your car drives this year compared to last year?
I would agree with Harvick. I think that I think he's right in the sense that the OSS, Bob, that's $1. You called it Hawkeye. I think that that's definitely brought people closer together. I think the splitter rules obviously brought people closer together. There were some guys that were really, really aggressive with that stuff, and they're really good. And there were guys that weren't so aggressive with it, that maybe kind of showed a little bit slower speed, but they were fast the way they were last year, and that's translated into faster than some of the guys that had that taken away this year. So definitely some of the rule changes has leveled some things out.
In front here.
Ed Graney, Review Journal. You were able to give the autographed helmet to the 1 October family, won the trucks, had such a great run here. Was this any different than coming on before, or was this a different trip because of things like that and what had happened here?
Yeah, I mean, Vegas strong. You know, it's certainly a cool opportunity to come out here and put on a good show in front of the hometown fans. I certainly wish Saturday was better than what it was. We just we're so far off, and the race was so short, we just didn't have time to get it back, you know. But overall, Friday and today were really good runs for us and had some fun while we were out here. It was great to meet that family and spend the few minutes that we did out there on stage and be able to give them a token of our appreciation and sadness for their loss that they had. Obviously, nothing will ever bring back their son, but you know, it's a little something to try to give them some joy about being able to spend the day out here at the Speedway and just have that remembrance of having fun.
Any more questions for Kyle? We'll go here.
Kyle, Andre Haynes, EMG Radio Show. What's your greatest takeaway today?
I think the biggest takeaway is just the way the race kind of transitioned. It was a 400-mile race. The race when we come back here in the fall, late summer, is going to be a 400-mile race. So the adjustments and the things that we were making today are definitely going to be useful for what's going to happen when we come back. I think the track's going to be a lot slower when we come back for the summer race with the heat and everything else. But you know, just learning how the track kind of moved around and the different lines that we were all running and stuff, it seemed like you can go about anywhere on the racetrack. So you know, again, this place has finally kind of aged a little bit where you can move all around and all over, and it's no longer one of those new repaves, so feels pretty good.
We'll take one more for Kyle Busch and let him go.
Just to remind us, Kyle, you're not running. Are you going to run the triple header again in September?
I'm not allowed to. No, just the Cup race.
Okay.
Kyle, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Yep.
And now we are joined by the driver of number 42, Credit One Bank Chevrolet, third place finisher, Kyle Larson. Kyle, this is your second consecutive top 3 finish at Las Vegas. Another good one, following up a win yesterday. Maybe talk about the race out there, please.
Yeah, it was a good race for us. Finished third, I think, at both stages, and third in the race. So, solid day. Had to fight pretty hard there a few times throughout the race, just from losing a lot of track position on the pit stops and stuff. I don't honestly know what was going on yet with the pit stops, but we'll watch some tape, and if it was something I was doing wrong, we can fix that up. But it was a good day. Our Credo and Bank Chevy was fast, nowhere near Harvick's level, but I felt like for most of the day we were second or third best. So, happy about that. And with coming back later in the year for a playoff race, it's nice to know that you've been fast here now the last 2 years, and hopefully can continue that.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle?
Mike Embry, USA Today. When a guy is as much faster as Kevin was today, do you reach a point during the race when you're sort of resign yourself to, hey, I'm probably racing for second unless he blows up or something happens? Does it get that bad when a guy's this fast?
No, I don't think ever in a NASCAR race you can think that, because it seems like so often a caution will come out with less than 10 to go, and you have to come down pit road, and that can change the race. So I wanted to keep myself as high up as I could, to just give myself a shot on pit road or something like that, or for a late race restart. You never know what can happen at any point throughout a cup race, but especially there at the end. Everybody gets so aggressive. So, if you know it's going to go green the whole time, then you're like, okay, I'm racing for second or third right here. But like I said, you can never count yourself out in a cup race.
Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. The Hendrick guys seem to talk about trying to learn this new body. You're running well. Do you feel like you have it pretty much handled, or do you feel like you see a lot of improvement yet as far as what you guys can do with the new body?
I don't know. I mean, for whatever reason, it definitely seems like, the other, I wouldn't even say the other Chevy teams, because RCR, I feel like, is running about as good as they did at this point last year. But Hendrick, for some reason, they seem to be off. It was kind of odd to lap, 3 out of the 4 cars there in the first little part of the race. But, our team, I guess, I don't know, whatever we do different, helps us out. All we really get from Hendrick is their engine. So, they could be doing stuff way different than us. And, I feel like at this point in the season, I feel like we're probably actually a little bit better than we were, last year. I say that, but, Atlanta, I felt like maybe we ran 1 or 2 spots worse than we did all day. And then here, I felt like we ran probably 3 or 4 spots better than we did all day last year. So, if we are better, it's barely anything. But, it's good that we're not any worse than we were last year.
And can I follow up? Just you ran the race yesterday, obviously, and yesterday seemed a little bit more racy, a little bit less track position. Is there something about the Cup cars that it's just a little bit more difficult here?
Well, I just think there's better drivers with more experience in the Cup Series. So, all of our cars are maybe stuck to the track a little bit better. But I just think when you have a field full of Cup drivers who have so much experience, they kind of know where they need to be, each lap of the race, really, and really good at feedback. So everybody's always getting their cars better throughout the race. So I think that's why sometimes you can see less passing. If you compare trucks to Xfinity, I mean, there's better racing in trucks than Xfinity because there's that, and there's just a lot of less experienced guys that are wild. But it just, I think the more you go up the ladder, you have more experienced guys that know what to do with their car and where to position themselves.
More questions for Kyle down here? Upstairs we're clear? Going
No.
once, twice? Kyle?
No questions from press box.
Thanks, Owen. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. Good luck next week. Okay, we will start our winner press conference for today's 21st annual Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube, and we're joined by the crew chief and owner of the number 4 Jimmy John's Ford for Stewart Haas Racing, and that's Rodney Childers and Tony Stewart. Tony, let's start with you. Obviously, you were very excited in victory lane, 100th win for Kevin Harvick in all 3 national series. Maybe talk about the excitement in your camp right now.
Well, it's awesome day for sure, especially the last 2 weeks. These guys have done an awesome job, and it just kind of feels like the last couple of years, these guys have done an awesome job. And I think the most impressive part for us is the fact that everybody thought the Fords were going to be underdogs this year, and not only the 4 car, but all the Stewart Haas Racing cars have had speed, and Penske's had speed, and Roush has had speed. So proud of everything that the Ford Motor Company's been doing for us. It shows their dedication to obviously the sport and this program. So proud of that, but really proud of Rodney and the 4-car guys that not only last week and today, but just everything they've done. Just it's nice to see Kevin and Rodney back in the form that we're used to seeing them in.
Yeah, speaking of that, Rodney, 2 back-to-back mile-and-a-half races that were dominated by the number 4 team. Obviously, you can't give away secrets, but what have you seen out of that 4 team that has made you so successful so far?
Like I said last week, you never know going into a season if it's going to be good or bad, or whether you're behind or you're ahead, or whatever the case may be. And I thought we would go to Atlanta and run good, but I thought we would go to Atlanta and run good because of Kevin Harvick. And I figured we would come here and really see what we had. And I was impressed from the first lap he made on Friday, and he said the car drove good. It went through the bumps better than it ever has here, and just all the stuff that it's supposed to do. And I really think it just comes down to a lot of hard work at the shop. A lot of hard work at the engine shop with Doug Yates and his guys at Roush Yates. And like Tony said, the stuff that Ford Performance has done to try to help us out, all that stuff matters. And I think we've done a good job as a team to focus on the details over the winter and focus on the fundamentals of racing, and really just focus on our own stuff, and kind of forget about the trick of the week and all the other stuff that goes around. And this guy beside me has told me over and over since day one I need to worry about our own stuff and focus on our own stuff, and I feel like that's what we've done, and it just has worked out good so far.
Thank you, Rodney. And Kevin, you've added your name to this list. Richard Petty, Kyle Busch, and David Pearson, 100 NASCAR National Series wins. Congratulations. Maybe just talk about that milestone to open us up.
Oh, you're right here. I thought it was somebody asking a question. Yeah.
I'm hard to miss.
So, yeah, it's been, it's been a lot of years accumulated with a lot of great race teams and people and situations. And, you've won some that you should, you've won some that you shouldn't. And, I think when you tag that triple-digit number to it, it really lets you realize that you've been fortunate to accomplish a lot of things and do things, consistently throughout the years. So it's been fun. I think for me, the last 5 years have really been the part that have been the most fun for me, just because of the fact that, I've been able to, come into Stewart Haas Racing, and Gene and Tony, took a chance and said, okay, we're going to do this a long time in advance, and Rodney was convinced to come over here and be a part of this deal. So, I think when you look at that, it's a little bit different when you look at something that has been built from the ground up, not only from the race cars and the transporters, but with the people. And for me, at this particular point, it's more fun. It's as fun. I love to win. Don't get me wrong. I love to win and love to be a part of that whole equation that comes with all these guys. And it starts with the ownership group and pulling into victory lane and seeing how excited all those guys are that do everything on the race cars that I'm fortunate just to sit in, I think is one of the things that is the most exciting for me. So I'm just fortunate to be riding the wave. And you can call me old, you can call us old, but cars are fast and things are going well.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. We'll open it up over here with Mike Hembry.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. Rodney, this wasn't just a win, it was pretty much a butt kicking. But were you aware, even say 10 or 15 laps into the race, that you were going to have a car that might be this dominant?
I didn't know with the weather changing a little bit, going into today with the wind not blowing, actually blowing the opposite direction. And, the temperature was down, the track temp was up. There was just a lot of things that were different. But, we felt good about our car yesterday in practice. It reacted to things that we thought that it should. And, like I said, probably the most impressive thing is how it went through the bumps down in 1 and 2. The whole weekend was incredible. So some of that stuff we don't ever understand, how we did it, but we'll figure that part out, I guess. But we had a good car all weekend.
Go to Jerry, Bob, Jeff, and then press box.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. I'm going to ask both Tony and Kevin because I think I'm going to get two different answers. Kevin being kind of humble about saying the problems that y'all had last year, and y'all still kind of working on some things even though you were dominating. What's going to happen when y'all figure this out and actually start clicking on all cylinders?
I've sat in here and told you guys, look, these guys at Stewart Haas Racing have worked on Chevrolets for a long time, and that's the only car that they knew. So learning the nuances of a different manufacturer, and I think as you look at the second year for us, last year when we put the engine in the car, none of the steering components worked. You had to redesign the steering, you had to redesign the clips, you had to redesign the motor mounts, and then it was just one problem after another. And I think as you come into this year, all those things work, and you're working on the small nuances of the new inspection process and different things that come with that, and whatever the little rule changes were, the pit road stuff, and those things are those are that you were able to focus on something. Last year you weren't able to focus on anything for the first 4 months because everything was a problem, and I think everybody knew that, and I've told you guys this before, and the only reason that it didn't stick out like a sore thumb is because we have a lot of good people and owners and manufacturer that gave us the resources and finances to go out and solve those problems and get them to a point. But I think he would tell you, and I think all the engineers would tell you, there's still a lot of things to work through, and so sky's the limit on where it can go, and I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons that Tony and Gene and all of us thought that the resources and things that came with Ford were the light at the end of the tunnel could be a lot bigger than it was, just because you were able to control so many more things, you were able to work on so many more things, and not rely on anybody else. You were relying on your own people and your own walls, and but there was a period in there where it was a handful to get it all going. There's a lot of good teams, yeah, but I'd put our bunch up against anybody.
Yeah, I agree. It's there's a ton of great teams out there, and the thing that's the constant variable in here that's always changing is technology. So it always kind of resets where everybody's at, because it's we've seen organizations and teams leapfrog each other when they find something kind of the new trick that works for them. So, but Kevin's right. There was so much to do last year. In December, we were halfway through the month of December, and it looked like skeletons in the shop because there wasn't a body on any cars because we weren't able to do that yet. So, so many things had to be done, and there were so many areas that there were problems that needed fixing that guys did a great job of, solving problems but not really fine-tuning on it, and then being able to have this first year to where we got all that underneath our belts and had the winter to to kind of refine everything. You know, it shows the depth of our organization and the people in our shop that are what make the three of us extremely proud of SHR and the people that we have working for us.
Bob?
Bob Huckers, ESPN. Tony, I know Rodney said that you never know how things are going to go, but did you have any sort of feeling that this might be coming, especially with the new body scan system and the new splitter rules?
I don't think when you have that, you ever know what's going to happen. I mean, like I say, the technology changes so much, and you know, you never know what's going to happen with tech inspection. But you know, it seems to be a little bit smoother than last year up to this point. So you know, excited that NASCAR's worked really hard to make the inspection process better than what it was, and you know, that's a big undertaking that they had to go through as well. So you know, it's been a huge process, but you know, I think all in all, it's you know, it's just a much better deal than it was.
Jeff?
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. For Tony, following up on Bob's question, so with the inspection, how much do you think that's responsible for the Fords not being as much of the underdogs as they turned out to be, at least so far this year?
We didn't call it. We never considered ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think we ever considered ourselves underdogs. I think that was, I think Roger was the one that actually said that, but I think Roger would take that comment back when he sees, you know, not only how we've ran, but his teams have ran, and Roush, how much they've gained speed this year. So I don't think any of us, and especially Ford, I don't think anybody at Ford thought that we would be underdogs this year. It was, you know, for us, it's just, I guess for Stewart Haas Racing, it's just continuing to move forward, and like we talked about, it just trying to make things better in our own organization. And you know, as far as the inspection process, I think it's more a question for Rodney, because he's the one who has to go through it. You know, but you know, I haven't heard as much grumbling, you know, with inspection that we've heard in the past, and things that, you know, last year there were so many things that you'd go through tech, and you'd go through with the same car that you didn't change, and the numbers were different. It's like we didn't change anything on the race cars, and numbers were drastically different. So, you know, from the untrained eye that hasn't been through the inspection process this year, it just seems like, listening to the crew chiefs, it's been a much smoother process.
Go to the press box.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire Service. Kevin, I heard you talk in Victory Lane about the 100th win, but in Cup alone, this is your 40th victory, tied with Mark Martin for 18th on the all-time list, third among active drivers. Is that a number that has particular significance to you?
You know, I think any place you get on the list at this particular point, for me, I just kind of laugh, just because of the fact that, you know, I don't think you ever really, I never really thought that I would actually get to the point of putting yourself beside Mark Martin and you know, some of the guys that are on that part of the list. So, you know, it's you know, I think as you look at the last 5 years and you look at the wins and the championship and the way that things have gone, it's really kind of rejuvenated everything that I've done and the way that I feel about coming to the racetrack. And you know, you feel obligated to be a part of it during the week and try to put the maximum amount of effort, because you know, this Rodney and Dax and the engineers and everybody who's working at the shop, they're digging, and they're not worried about, you know, where you're at on the list. And you know, I think that for me is a good thing, because it's really week to week. I mean, they'll go home and we probably won't ever talk about what we did at Vegas until we come back to Vegas. It'll be all about Phoenix this week and what we're going to do and what we did wrong and what we did right, you know, at the fall race, and where we're at with the cars at this particular point, and what do we need to work on, and how do we need to work on things. And we'll fly home tonight and have a good time and talk about, you know, how the weekend went, and you know, there's always things that you can make better. There's really no time to sit and reminisce about where you're at on a list, because when things are like this, you want to capitalize on them, and you want to capitalize on your cars and your people and your enthusiasm and the momentum and all the things that come with that. So you're almost scared to even really step back and say, you know, we did this or we did that, and you know, your name's on the list here. It's just, okay, how do we keep doing this, and let's just keep pushing things forward and try not to stumble along the way and screw up what's going on, because To me, so far it feels a lot like 2014, except you've got a team with 5 years of experience, and that's pretty scary.
Matt Corson with the Racing Experts and ESPN Radio Albuquerque. For Rodney, obviously your team's riding a lot of momentum into Phoenix next weekend. What's your evaluation of the team's flat track program?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely hit our stride at Phoenix early, as far as the Ford team. And then we went through a spell there where, I think the track changed a little bit, the tires changed a little bit, and we just kind of got off of our base. And we went back to some things last fall, and we had good speed all weekend. I think our cars are better now than what they were last fall, and I think we can go out there and be competitive and hopefully have a shot at another win out there.
Jim Utter, Motorsport.com. You just mentioned this, but both Kyle Busch and Martin on pit road were talking about how you looked like 2014 again, and Martin said, there goes Kevin Harvick off in his own zip code again. Does it really feel that way, or has so much changed in that time? Is it difficult to compare?
Well, for me, there was a lot of questions coming into the weekend. I think Atlanta's its own beast, but I think we answered a lot of those questions for ourselves, and now it's about navigating the rest of it, and how do you push yourself forward? What do you need to work on, even though things are going good? Sometimes you have to trick yourself and everybody else into thinking, okay, well, everything's going good. Well, I can promise you that the 78, the 18, the 2, the 22, everybody's going to work and they're going to get better. I mean, we did that last year. So, we've been in this position before, and you have to keep pushing forward to try to keep your advantage of things that are working well for you, but you also have to find out what your weaknesses are. And this weekend we're going to a flat track, and like Rodney said, we didn't run well there in the spring. We ran better in the fall, but not like we expect to run. So, that's an important playoff race. So we have to figure out how to motivate everybody to keep pushing forward, to not sit idle in the things that we're doing and become complacent in the things that you're doing because it's good enough right now, because it won't be when you get to summertime.
We'll take three more. Bob over here, and then Mike.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Kevin, does your car feel that much better than it did near the end of last year, or is it the same and everybody's just
my car drove? I mean, you got to remember, at the end of last year, our car was as competitive as anybody. So. We drove to victory lane there at Texas and led the most laps and won both stages, and just had some things not work out for us at Charlotte. So the mile-and-a-half stuff has been on point since we got to Chicago last year. And I think as you have a whole winter to step back, take a deep breath, and work on some things, and obviously, I think as you look at everything that's changed has obviously not hurt us as much as it hurt some other people. So there's still a lot of racing left to go, but it's good to have momentum. It's good to have things going early. It's good to score playoff points, because we saw how important they were last year for the 78. And you want to, when things are going good, you need to hammer it home. You need to capitalize on it. You need to win stages, because there'll be a point where you go through that lull where somebody else is hot, and you hope that your hot streak is longer than theirs, so you can score more points and put yourself in a better position to try to put yourself in a better position for the playoff points than anybody else.
Tom Zaleski, Iron County Today. Piggybacking off of that last thought, you have 5 wins in your last 9 trips at Phoenix, and you're on a serious roll right now. Is there anything? Are you feeling superstitious in any sense? You, the team, in your daily routine, trying to keep yourself on that narrow path and avoid the low?
I had 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch today, so that sounds like that's the omen, which is great for me, and especially if I can eat them on white bread like I did today. So, the only difference is Gene's going to have to stand there and talk to me about the F1 team and tell me about how their testing went and everything that comes with that. So, yeah. So 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and Gene Haas is required to come to the race and give me an update on F1 testing.
We'll wrap it up with Mike here on the left.
Tony, you won races in cars that were this dominant before. What's it like when you're not challenged every lap? Do you kind of almost rock yourself to sleep? You're so far ahead, or had you really rather have somebody racing with you every lap?
Well, it's nice. I mean, there's days that it's not like that, and you got to work your guts out just to try to keep up. So when you have days like this, it's it gives you the flexibility to really, in all reality, it gives you an opportunity to focus a little more about what your car's really doing, because you're not really having that pressure on you as far as somebody pressuring you on the racetrack. So when you can get out by yourself like that and things are clicking along, it seems like the closer things are to being right, the easier it is to actually diagnose what it is you need. So, on a day like today when, and Atlanta, when Kevin's got, cars that are driving the way he wants to drive like that, he can really pick apart what it is he needs to be even that much better. I think guys that are really struggling, they don't know what to do. It's hard to figure out what the problem is and what you have to do to fix it. So, it's kind of a luxury to be in that spot. And I think when you get in that mode where things are clicking along, it does make you more dangerous because you're able to really fine tune and really find the things that you need to make it that much better.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Congratulations on a great victory, and have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
Kev, you're only 9 away from this guy's title. He's only 9 away.